Sorry, I'm just dying here.
Okay.
Dun-dun-dun. You are live with the App Show. Mike Agerbo here with John Biehler. We've got a cool show today. Later on, we'll be exploring the world of processors. I know that doesn't sound like overly exciting, but I think it's important because I know tons of people are always in the market for new laptops to run their favorite apps. And it's confusing out there. You walk into a Staples or London Drugs or Best Buy, and there are dozens of laptops, and they all have these crazy Intel processors, and they've got different names and numbers, and you don't know what to get.
Different generations of those same processors too?
I know. So, I've been familiar with the Intel Core i3, i5, and i7 processors, but like you said, there's generations. Now they have the 10th generation. What does that mean? I don't know. Well, I do know because I have to know, but we're going to explain that today. We've got someone coming into the program from Intel to really take this down a notch as far as the tech speak to help us all understand what we need to get. We'll also be talking about Apple's iPad, and this is an important segment you'll want to listen to if you are feeling artistic or you like to draw. The new iPad now takes advantage of the Apple Pencil, and you can do some really amazing things with it. Everything from sketching to watercolors, any type of drawing or painting you can think of, you can do on this iPad. And they've brought the price way down. We've got one of our team members. Her name is Miranda Wicks. She'll be coming on to show some of her drawings, which you can actually see on our video podcast at GetConnectedMedia.com.
They're truly amazing.
Oh my God, yeah. I hate her. It makes me feel super inadequate.
Well,
as an artist.
I gave her the iPad, and she came back the next day. She took it home, played with it for the first time. She'd never touched Apple Pencil to glass. And she came back with like 3 amazing drawings that she just sketched in a coffee shop.
Yeah. We're going to have to take it away from her. She's too good. Let's talk about some interesting developments in folding phones.
Yes.
We've talked about these a number of times on the program. Huawei has their Mate X, and Samsung's got their Fold that they've released again. And they've improved the durability of it. So these are basically smartphones that open up. Their screens can fold, and you can have a giant tablet.
So TCL actually has announced their new foldable prototype that actually folds into a zigzag Z formation.
Yeah, not 2 screens.
No.
They've taken it another level, 3.
So folds into thirds.
That's not going to be delicate.
Yeah, I don't...
Because it's not glass.
No.
Typically what makes it durable is the glass screen.
Yeah.
But this is like a flexible plastic.
Yeah, but it does open up into a 10-inch tablet.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I did like about like the Galaxy Fold was when it's open, it's actually a really nice shape and form factor.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. And if this is half as good as the experience I had with the Samsung, it should be pretty compelling. The thing I like about it is that this does fold up into basically thirds. So each sort of fold is a little bit thinner than the Galaxy version of it. But what I haven't seen yet is what it actually looks like, when it's all closed up. How usable is it at all? That's one of the faults that people had with the Galaxy was the fact that when it does fold up, the screen that's available on top is actually kind of useless because it's so small.
So even stepping back from the 3 folding screens on the TCL phone, people are probably wondering, TCL who? You might know them from their TVs. They have come in and swept the market. Chinese manufacturer. They make tons of TVs. They're number 1 in the US. And
they actually put out the last few BlackBerry devices too.
Yeah, they own BlackBerry. They've got the name for smartphones.
Yeah.
Also Alcatel.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, they're going to be coming out with phones under the TCL brand.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. Huawei, their model is going to be launching a 5G version of their folding phone when it comes out.
Which is interesting because it's not just a folding phone. It's also one of the first 5G devices that we're going to see in the marketplace, but only in China for now.
So when it comes to these folding phones, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to get more screen real estate. You know what I mean? Turn the phone into a tablet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool from a productivity standpoint. But again, the flexible screens, they have a durability issue. So some manufacturers have gone a different route. LG would be one of them, and even Microsoft, who announced a new smartphone, an Android phone coming out. So they've got two screens, but they're not. They're connected, but they're two separate screens.
They're not trying to hide the hinge in the screen.
No.
Which makes a lot more sense because those screens are proper glass displays that aren't going to be as susceptible to damage like the Huawei and like the Galaxy.
Yeah, I tried the LG. What's the model of that one again?
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you looked that up. I tried it back in February at Mobile World Congress in Spain, in Barcelona. And so you can buy the phone by itself. It's just got the one screen, but then you can buy the optional second screen attachment. So it was kind of cool for gaming, for example.
Yeah.
And it was cool to have two apps open at the same time. And I felt it was more durable. And the fact that you could actually, if you're going out and you didn't want that extra bulk, you didn't have to bring the second screen with you.
Oh, I didn't realize it was detachable. It's the LG 68X
Yeah.
Thin Q.
So
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I'm super interested to see how Microsoft rolls with their
with their Android one as well. And that'll be pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, Microsoft getting into Android smartphones. I wonder how they'll do with that. Will they make a push? And because it's hard to get into the smartphone market, right?
It's a pretty crowded market, especially on the Android side. So
yeah, and I think obviously they're going to go in at the premium level, right? They're not going to go in the $200 phone level.
But Microsoft has been known for some quality hardware, very very well designed and well built. And so again, that might be the differentiating factor for Microsoft with that.
I'll have to check that out. We have still a lot to talk about on today's program. We will be talking about what to look for in a new laptop as far as the processor and what all the different terms mean. So if you're in the market for one, stay tuned for that because we've got someone from Intel coming on the program to explain it all for us. And for our Hot 5 app countdown this week, what do you think? Hot 5 Halloween apps.
That's right.
I'm excited about that.
I'm scared.
Are you really?
No.
No.
No, there's some pretty great ones we got coming up.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. Of course, we will also have some other great apps to speak of, John's app pick of the week, and also we will be talking about the game app of the week as well. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, it's the Hot 5 app countdown, Hot 5 Halloween apps. Stay tuned. You are back with the App Show. Mike and John here. We still have a lot to talk about on today's program. Do you need a new laptop to run all your favorite apps on Windows? Well, we have the experts from Intel coming into the program here later on to talk about what to look for when you're buying your new laptop. It's confusing. There's so many different processor models out there.
And generations of those processors.
Even I get confused. So I always love having them on the program because it kind of educates me for another few months. So to speak. I want to talk, though, now about iPads. Apple just released their new iPad, and they brought the price way down onto it. I think it's around $430 now in that price range. And it's also expandable. Now you can use the first-generation Apple Pencil on it and also the Apple Smart Keyboard. It's got a magnetic connector so that Apple keyboard just kind of magnetically clicks onto it. So it turns it into, essentially, a pretty powerful laptop. And it's really kind of designed, I think, to go after that low-cost Windows laptop market.
Yeah, it just really depends on what type of apps and functionality you want from your device. And definitely, I would take an iPad over a low-end laptop any day.
I think so, because, when you look at opening an app on the iPad, especially this new one, it's instant. Like, that app opens instantly. When you do that on a low-cost laptop that's under $500, not so fast.
No, it's usually painful. Or if you open more than 10 Chrome tabs, for example, you're
dead.
You're done.
You're dead. Well, let's talk about the iPad and using it for art. We've got our GetConnected graphics artist and web master. Her name is Miranda Wicks. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. I enjoy it.
Do you? We forced you to come on, actually.
Yeah, by force, yeah.
That's okay. You brought the iPad into the studio, and if you get a chance, visit our website at getconnectedmedia.com. We've got the video podcast of this program as well, so you can actually see some of the art that she's drawn. And I'm going to hold it up to the camera right now. You can't see this at home, but she has basically drawn a young lady on here, and it looks like a photograph.
It totally does.
Yeah, I thought it was a photograph.
Yeah.
But you've drawn that entirely with the Apple Pencil. What app are you using for that?
It's actually called Procreate, which is a very popular and common app for illustrators. So a lot of artists I know use it, and they've introduced me to it, and so I definitely had to, install it for myself, play with it.
But I mean, you just started using this.
Yeah, just a few.
I gave you the iPad last week, and because I knew that you would be able to draw with it.
I kind of hate you a little because I mean, instantly, like within 1 week, she's Michelangelo on here.
Right, and we can't draw, and we've been playing with this stuff for
sweet
ages.
Jesus, yeah, you don't want me to draw. It looks awful. So
I've been hooked.
the app is I think $15.
The Procreate, that's $15 or $14.99. Yeah.
That's pretty cheap for like what you can do with this.
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
And so, how did you find drawing on the iPad? Because it's not like paper or a canvas.
No, although it was very instantaneous in terms of how it reacts, it almost seems like it is like a real life, tangible experience that you're dealing with. But I'd say that the only difference would just be the texture that you feel in your hand. You're using a smooth glass surface as opposed to something like paper. You can feel.
Can you feel when you're pressing down?
Yeah. So, but the thing is, the reaction with the pressure sensitivity of the Apple Pencil, it's very realistic. So you almost get lost in the world of drawing, and you get really sort of zoned into it.
So at first, it feels like you're drawing on glass because you are. Mm-hmm. Do you overcome that, or does it always feel like you're drawing on glass?
Yeah, it sort of does. When you select a brush with different textures and you just sort of get used to that texture, you kind of know the ins and outs of it, and you quickly learn how to use it. And then also you can adjust your size of your brush and the opacity and whatnot. And there's so many tools at the fingertip that you can just have access to, thousands of brushes.
And you were mentioning that compared to where you've traditionally done digital illustrations, where you're using like a Wacom tablet where you're drawing on a piece of glass, but you're still looking on a screen in front of you, that there's a weird disconnect that you don't have with the iPad.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like you sort of have to translate where you're going to be putting your hand and then looking with your eye where it's going.
It's like playing Nintendo.
Disconnect. Yeah. I mean, I tried to get into it when I had a Wacom tablet in college, and I only did a couple pieces with it, and it was a little too frustrating to sort of stick with it. But now that I've experienced it on the iPad, that I'm hooked, and I want to get one for myself, and I think I could do a lot of art on it and improve.
You've also tried the iPad Pro, which is the higher end model of the iPad line. Did you notice much difference as far as drawing was concerned?
I think just the size of it helps because it is a bigger screen.
Yeah.
You get to just see more. And then I found the pencil itself to be the more difference there in terms of how it works. Not so much, but I guess holding the pencil, there's a bit of a ridge, and it's not as slippery. And it snaps onto the side of the iPad Pro. So
yeah, it's magnetic. That's how it charges.
Yeah, it charges that way, and it's nice because I just kind of let it roll towards it, and it goes click, and it snaps to it. So it's easy to carry it around and take it with you. And but in terms of the reaction time and whatnot, it's not too different. Yeah.
Any tips for people that would want to get into trying to draw? I don't know if I could ever draw like what you have drawn here. I mean, it's photorealistic, but
well, I think that using really high-end tools like this, that's one thing, but getting really the bare bones of knowing how to draw, taking it back to the basics, getting your fundamentals down on paper, something cheap like that, grow your skills that way. But these tools are definitely really helpful if you want to take it to the next level or explore.
Well, you were also mentioning before too, to do something like what you've done here with traditional, say, paints or pens and paper, you would need a lot of different pens and brushes and things like that. Whereas here it's like a drop down.
Yeah. And you don't run out of material
right.
with this. You just have to charge your iPad. And also like you can access 1,000 different types of materials by tapping it once or twice. Whereas in the real world, you'd have to go out and buy it, and it could be thousands of dollars alone for just those materials.
So even though when you add up this iPad with the keyboard's a couple $100, the pencil's about $120, iPad's $430-ish, you're up in the $700 price range, which, it sounds like a lot, and it is. Make no mistake, but like you said, if you had to go buy all the canvases and all the brushes and pens and ink and watercolors, you'd get up there fast.
Yeah, probably if you're, a full-fledged artist and you're buying all these things.
The other thing I thought was interesting too is the spontaneity of doing this. You were doing a lot of these drawings just at a cafe.
Yeah.
Whereas you wouldn't be setting up all your brushes and paints at a cafe.
Yeah,
But you were just drawing whenever you were inspired.
It's an art studio. It's a portable art studio.
Yeah.
So it's like tiny. I can fit it in my purse, and I've got a whole studio right in front of me. So it's perfect, and I love it.
It sounds like you're hooked.
I'm hooked. I want to get one for myself. Christmas is around the corner, so. Another cool thing that I wanted to express was just sort of how compatible it is with other, like if you're a graphic artist, you can turn your Procreate files into PSDs. So
For Photoshop.
Yeah, for Photoshop. So you can bring this into Photoshop and they're all separated into layers, and you can even add text from there and whatnot. So it does translate quite well if you're a graphic artist.
I also thought it was really cool that Procreate and some of the other apps, they all seem to sort of have this feature where they will actually record your brush strokes, and you have like a time lapse of you building the painting. And we'll show one on the video podcast as well, just so people can see sort of the process of drawing, which is, it's a fascinating insight into how an artist works and, where they focus on and how they get that particular look and that texture and stuff like that. So
yeah, and it also helps with editing as well, because it records when you're actually drawing or you're using the pen. Because say if you take a break for an hour, walk away, it's not going to show a big empty time gap within that video. So it kind of edits it all together for you, and you can speed it up.
Do you know what I like right now? Because we are video podcasting this as well. Every time you're saying, well, we're going to show this on the video, the time lapse, I'm looking at Steven, one of our producers, and he's the guy that has to put all that in there. Yeah, I could be saying, I'd like to see also a cat on top of the Eiffel Tower.
explosions.
Explosions in the video podcast too. So good luck there, Steven.
I think he's going to get some animated gifts for us.
Yes. Thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah, this was super fun.
Very cool. That was Miranda Wicks, our resident graphics artist and our webmaster here on the app show and our Get Connected show as well. When we come back from the break, a few more apps to talk about, including our Hot 5 app countdown. Stay tuned. You are back with the app show. Before we get to the Hot 5 app countdown this week, the Hot 5 Halloween apps, let's learn something about our iPhones.
iPhone tip of the week. Unleash the power of your iOS device.
What do we got, John?
So this week, iOS 13 has a great new feature that I actually really love. Whenever you get an unknown caller, someone that's not on your contact list, you can actually have that go directly to voicemail. Your phone doesn't even ring.
I like that.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
So you'll get the notification that you had a call. Your phone will light up like it's getting a call, but it won't actually vibrate. It won't ring, and it'll send the caller directly to voicemail. And so you enable this feature by going into your settings and the phone, and then there's a little switch for turning on silence unknown callers. It's fantastic.
Easy peasy.
Yep.
It's that time.
The weekly app Hot 5.
This week, we've got our Hot 5 Halloween apps, and we'll start off with number 5, Halloween backgrounds and wallpapers. This is for iOS. It's free. And we also have an equivalent one on Android. It's Halloween Live Wallpaper, and that's $1.99. Get in the spirit and deck your phone out with fun Halloween-themed wallpapers with these particular apps. So again, for iOS, it would be Halloween backgrounds and wallpaper, free. And for Android users, it's Halloween Live Wallpaper, and that's $1.99. Still cheap, $2. I mean, that's a few chocolate bars.
That's right.
Okay, number 4, YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. One of the great things about YouTube is it's basically a video library for everything. So you can find videos from your favorite Halloween hits, like the Monster Mash, from YouTube. You can also find how-tos for costumes, Halloween crafts, props, and decorations.
Kind of cool. Number 3 on the Hot 5 app countdown this week, we've got Carve a Pumpkin. This is for iOS and it's free. This would probably be better on an iPad. Carve your Halloween pumpkin without the mess and tools this year. With Carve a Pumpkin, you and your kids can get creative and carve a pumpkin right on your screen. Even better, you can carve as many as you like. And your kids will hate you if you don't get them a real pumpkin. Right? Kids, we're just going to carve a pumpkin on the iPad. Yay, mom and dad.
Oh, man.
Therapy later. But no, that's kind of cool, right? Because you can actually practice.
Well, that's just it. You can practice your stabbing skills.
Yes. And if you've seen some of the kids' carvings,
Yes.
they need some practice.
Yes.
Okay, number 2. I love this one here. The Walking Dead Dead Yourself. Have you tried this one?
Yes, I love this one. So you can basically snap a selfie or import one from your camera roll, and you can edit it with zombie features and props from the Walking Dead TV show. Once you've created your creepy masterpiece, you can share it via text or social media, and it's free.
And number 1 on the Hot 5 app countdown this week, getting ready for Halloween here. Make a Zombie. It's Android and iOS. It's free. Tell us about it, John.
So you can create a variety of little cartoon zombies and share them with friends and family. Make a Zombie includes a variety of backgrounds, bodies, faces, clothes. It's kind of like Mr. Potato Head for zombies.
Yeah.
And hairstyles, which you can then create millions of cute zombie combinations. This is a great little app to spark your Halloween creativity with.
I love it. Okay, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we've got a couple more apps to talk about. We've got our game app of the week, and we also have John's app pick of the week as well. So stay tuned. You're listening to the App Show here on the Chorus Radio Network. Back after this. Let's talk processors now. One of the biggest processor makers out there would, of course, be Intel. Have you gone into a store lately, John, to buy a laptop?
No.
No. You just keep buying the Macs.
Yes.
Yes. Well, if you go into any London Drugs or Staples, there is a large selection. There's a number of different processors. There's like 8th generation Intel Core processors, 9th, and now 10th. To help us understand what they all mean, we've got our special guest, Lisa McManus from Intel, on the line. Thanks for joining us, Lisa.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
So I wanted to bring you on the program just to help it, I don't want to say dumb it down, but just explain to our listeners what they should be looking for when they walk into a Best Buy or London Drugs or Staples and they're looking at the sea of laptops. What do all these processors mean? So you've got your Intel Core i3, i5, i7. I think they're up to i9 in some cases.
Yep.
But then there's also, on top of that, they've got like 8th generation or 9th, and now there's 10th. What does it all mean?
Yeah, certainly. So, as technology develops, we obviously keep adding to the quality and the productivity that each CPU brings, right? So our 8th generation, is a great device. There's lots in market today that you'll see. And then the 9th generation was announced earlier this year, and that's really just incremental improvements over the 8th. And then this month we've introduced our 10th generation, which you'll see in the holiday season in retailers, which is basically our latest and greatest devices. Each one sort of brings something a little bit different. From an 8th gen perspective, there's amazing devices out there. The 9th gen is really designed for it's basically our most powerful generation of mobile computing ever. So it's a little more limited in terms of what's available on market. There's a lot of mobile devices, but then 10th gen, it's going to be much wider spread. So you're right. We have an i3, i5, i7, and i9. And, basically what it means is as you become like an entry user, such as a young person that would maybe little kid that would just use very limited type of software, right? Easy to use stuff. You don't need as much processing power. As you get more complex, you have more complex software needs and demands, like say you're a gamer and you want to stream, you want to record all at the same time as well as play, your processor is basically the brain of your PC. So you sort of need to go up the stack as your usage it gets more complex and a lot more complicated.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I've got some old desktop PCs at home that are like Core i7 processors, which typically are pretty powerful machines, but they're pretty old now. I don't even know what generation they are, but, if you're looking to get the most power for a lot of these new games, or if you're video editing or doing a lot of Photoshop, you'd want to look for, like typically 8th generation and up. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a 5-year-old, it's amazing, Mike, because there's loads and loads of 5-year-old devices out there. So let me just maybe put it at a high level for everybody that's shopping. based on a 5-year-old device, if you're looking at a 10th gen, it's 2 times better performance. It's 2 times better productivity and 2.5 times faster photo rendering versus a 5-year-old PC. 3 times faster Wi-Fi connectivity and about 8 times the bandwidth with a Thunderbolt versus a USB 3.0, which is some of the ports that you'll have on your laptops. So you definitely, as you want to go, if this is going to be a really, heavily used device that everybody's going to be touching for different types of things, albeit gaming or entertainment, right? Loads of people are streaming right now, great content from the web. So, as you sort of have more users or more usages, you want to look at 8th gen, and then 9th gen is a really amazing gaming device. There's lots of amazing mobile gaming devices using the 9th gen series, as well as desktops. Desktops are in our 9th generation as well, which is our latest and greatest desktops. And then as you step up, the 10th gen is really a great CPU for the uber thin and light, your ultra thin and light devices, your super mobile devices. I mean, the weights and the battery lives are amazing. I'd say, your newer generations, you're going to have, productivity improvements like from 8th, 9th, and 10th at 16% or greater. You're going to have Thunderbolt 3, which, on the 10th gen, Wi-Fi 6. And Wi-Fi 6 is basically your connectivity. So when you think about in your home, all the connected devices you have, Wi-Fi 6 basically enables almost like 100 different connections with no impact to the connectivity or the performance. So that's really an important element as you look to your home where you probably have light bulbs, you probably have cameras, doorbells, TVs, fridges, you name it, and it's connected. The other nice thing that's coming with 10th gen is artificial intelligence. So there's loads of elements of AI that folks don't know is built into their computer, particularly around the 10th gen, like the hands-free, the wake-on voice, and the modern connected standby. Anything that you basically, even, when you're typing a letter and it finishes it for you, a word, it finishes it, that's AI. So all these elements are, as you get newer generations, these things are being added in. So really something to think about if you're looking at an entertainment device. The 10th generation is bringing 4K 60, HDR, 1080p gaming, so much higher quality video encoding and things like that.
Well, I think you brought up some important points, Lisa. And John, it's more than just the processing power of the chip itself.
Yeah.
Like what Lisa was talking about there, Wi-Fi 6, for example. I did an inventory. I looked on my router page, how many connected devices I have in my home? 75.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing,
I thought I was
right?
doing good with 35.
Oh, I know. And everyone is mad at me in the house because the router can't handle it. Like everything is not going as fast as it should. So, definitely if you've got all these connected smart home devices and cameras and the kids are doing online gaming and you're streaming Netflix all over the house, you got to have a half decent router. Wi-Fi 6 is the latest and greatest standard. And, it's not just about the speed of delivering that data to all the devices. It's being able to handle like dozens of different devices at the same time without everything bogging it down. So that's one of the advantages of these new 10th generation iCore processors that Intel has, is that they connect like really well with the Wi-Fi 6, but also, talked about the Thunderbolt connections,
Yes.
hooking up, external hard drives and things like that. So all of these things kind of work together to make the computer a lot faster. And I've tried it. Like, it is amazingly different than what I thought was a super powerful computer from 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is when people are making that purchasing decision, the reason why I haven't been into a store lately, because I'm on year 3 of my laptop.
Yes.
And I maxed out the processor at the time. And
You get what you pay for, right?
you do. You pay a little bit more, but if you get a couple extra years of life out of that,
Yeah.
because it's solid. I mean, my laptop doesn't have Wi-Fi 6 and all the things like that, but it does have the Thunderbolt connections and things like that. So it is going to last me probably for a little while longer. And I didn't pay that much of a premium to get the latest and greatest at the time. Where I always see people having problems though is when they cheap out and they go to the bottom first and work their way up.
When you buy that $300 laptop, it's tough, man, because they're slow as molasses.
But then they think, well, it's just computers are slow or the internet's slow or, it's like you bought a $300 laptop.
Yeah.
So,
Which might be good for some basic things like email and some basic web browsing, but you start doing some other stuff, if you're starting to edit photos and maybe some video,
Or have more than 10 Chrome tabs open.
yeah, then you're dead, right? But, there's definitely a price premium when you go up to the latest, isn't there, Lisa?
It's not really, it's incredible how our the OEMs can and like the manufacturers of the world can really bring some amazing price points to the market. So, I think what's really important, and you both brought it up, but it's really about what's the minimum. Like I would always say, don't buy the minimum because you need to future-proof your purchase, right? So when you're looking at, okay, today I use gaming a little bit and I do a little, make sure you're starting probably about a Core i5. That's sort of like what I would recommend that you have. That'll carry you through your incremental programs as you're going through, right? And that way, to your point, you haven't got the slowness. Again, it depends on what your usage models are, but we always say it's great to have, a Core i5 as a base model. The other thing to think about, and you guys all know, but you have to think about your GPU, right? What are you using to do your graphics? And, there's some great technology from the CPU that allows great graphics, but you have to make sure you have a good graphics card if you're going to be doing gaming and stuff like that, as well as your RAM. And, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Intel has Octane Memory now, which is basically like a super smart memory that helps you. What it does, it learns how you use your device and it speeds your processes up on your behalf. So it basically says, oh, Lisa's on. She wants to go in Outlook. Instead of having to go and find all the instruction and run, it instantly starts up. It sort of stores what you want to do. So there's that element. The other part is the storage piece, right? We're seeing a big shift to SSD-based models. SSD is sort of like a fanless storage, so it allows for much thinner and lighter devices. Another thing I forgot to mention, which is really important to people for mobility, is, some of the newer generations are up to 18 hours of battery life. So that's really a true device that I hope no one's working 18 hours a day, and I hope, 9 of those hours are fun, but I think that's a really important element too, right? About the battery life, and the more advanced your generation is, and
the more efficient it uses that battery life that it does, that is
Correct.
attached to that device.
I remember my laptop when I first got a laptop was like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We've come a long way, baby. Lisa, I want to thank you for coming on the program once again. Where can people find out more information about all the different processors?
Well, if you go to intel.ca, there's loads of information. All our retail partners, there's information on Intel on those websites as well as the OEMs. But intel.ca is your go-to. That
was Lisa McManus from Intel Canada. You're back with the App Show. Mike and John here. Don't forget to visit our GetConnectedMedia.com website. We've got all our App Show podcasts up there and our sister show as well, Get Connected. You can hear that every Saturday here on Global News Radio, CKNW 980 from 10 to 11 a.m. And it's podcast out across Canada, and it's on a number of core stations as well. Let's get to our game app of the week. And this week, what do we got, John?
We've got Skullduggery. This is for Android and iOS, and it's free. As an IRS agent, your mission in Skullduggery is to collect money from deadbeats. Your character in the game is a skull, which you'll slingshot around using the elastic parts of the skull's brain. Kind of like Angry Birds, this game includes a lot of great mechanics to keep you entertained.
Very cool.
Very Halloween-y.
Skullduggery?
Skullduggery.
From Android and iOS phones out there. Okay, I'm always interested in your app pick of the week, John. What do we got this time?
So this week we've got 1967 Retro Filters and Effects. This is just for iOS and it's free. You get the effects of vintage film photos with 1967. This app lets you bring back the tones, grains, and light leaks you see in an old film photo. With over 220 filters and a simple interface, you're sure to find the right vintage look for any photo.
Do you know what I love about these filter apps like this here that make your photos look vintage? You're basically taking your photos and making them look crappy.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's how Instagram became very popular.
Yes.
They had the filters that made it look kind of old-fashioned.
Do you remember Hipstamatic?
Yes.
Where you would have to take a photo with the app and you wouldn't get to preview and look at anything. It's kind of like shooting film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love those things.
See, kids don't understand that.
No.
When we were kids, we had to take pictures and we didn't know what they were going to look like until we got it back days or weeks later.
Until we walked uphill in the snow to the photomat.
The photomats were always at the top of hills. I don't know why. And we only went there in the wintertime. Unfortunately. That again, 1967 retro filters and effects for iPhone users. It's free. It's all the time we have left. Don't forget to check out our podcasts every week. You can also see our great TV and video segments on getconnectedmedia.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love to send you the latest and greatest in how-to videos, tips, and tricks. This is Mike and John signing off for the App Show. See you again next time.